tonight we are so excited to have with us Dwayne Dyer, who's known as XANGO's master distributor, which is really, he's really the father of us all, if not for some of us, the grandfather of us all. And his organization exceeds 2 million distributors in 41 countries. Dwayne and Melody are 500K Premier Select, which is the top achievement yet to be achieved by anyone. Sweet 16, XANGO Legends, and of course members of the prestigious $1 Million Club, as well as Emissary of Life, Hope, and Goodness for Charity. And it is my pleasure to introduce not only a good friend and business partner, Dwayne Dyer. And, you know, it's really, really interesting that, you know, things don't happen just by accident. There seems to be something in the universe. But when he was at Shackley Corporation, which is a 55-year-old, very, very well-respected leader in the network marketing and nutritional industry, he got a call from a dear, dear friend and former business colleague, Gordon Morton, who shared with him that they were going to start a new company back in 2002, November to be exact. And Dwayne's going to share with us why XANGO has been so incredible, and the first company in our entire industry to reach $200 million in annual sales and over $2 billion in accumulated sales in just under 9 years. So without further ado, Collie and I would love to introduce our friend and partner, Dwayne Dyer. Over to you, dear.
Thank you, Sandy. Thanks for that kind introduction, and thanks for everyone for being on the call, or on the webinar, I should say. It's a real pleasure for me to be with two of the industry's absolute giants, legends in our industry. People all over the world know who Collie Butler and Sandy Cohen are, and they've certainly done the same thing at XANGO that they've done in other companies, and that's gone right to the top. So, Collie and Sandy, thank you for letting me spend a few minutes on the call with everyone tonight. I wanted to start out by talking a little bit about the XANGO compensation plan, and not the nuts and bolts of how the plan works. That can be done later in a training call. What I really want to focus on tonight on this webinar call is the fact that you really can make some income with the XANGO compensation plan. And I'm going to tell you that because I have been able to travel all over the world. I've been able to watch leaders come across stage from 1Ks, 5Ks, 20Ks, premiers and up, and be recognized for the achievements that they've done. Recently I was in Kiev, Ukraine, where they honored 3 new $1 Million Club earners, bringing the total to 99 millionaires in XANGO. Now, folks, this is less than 10 years old. I mean, if we were talking about a 55-year-old company, to have 99 millionaires would be an achievement. But to have 99 millionaires and have it a company that is just 9 years old is simply outstanding. That's an industry record. No one has ever done that before in our industry. And it's so exciting to see people's lives change. You know, we have some of our fastest income earners now are in countries that are fairly underdeveloped. And to see that happen, I mean, it's exciting to see it happen here in the U.S. when you take an individual and you watch them produce an income that equals or exceeds what they were making in their JOB. It's quite exciting. I remember years ago being with a compensation plan in another company, and I called and complimented one of our distributors in New York who had become part of the top 100 checks. And I complimented him, and I said, "Greg, I'm excited for you." And he said, "Why?" He goes, "My check is less than $2,000. He said, "I'll tell you what, Dwayne, that check does not pay my car parking expenses in New York." And I thought, wow. And I contrast that to the top checks at XANGO. Now, we have 99 millionaires, which tells you that that averages about $100,000 a year or more. A lot of these millionaires, of course, have come in not from the very beginning, but just recently, 2, 3, 4 years ago in XANGO, and they're reaching the $1 Million Club status. So I want to emphasize that the compensation plan in XANGO works. You can take the average income of the 1K, 5K, 20K, Premier, and above, and you can do a percentage breakout on each of those levels, and you will find that it's directly proportional to the number of people they've sponsored into their business. For example, the 500K Distributor has sponsored, like Collie and Sandy and myself, has sponsored more people on average than the 200K. The 200K has sponsored more people on average than the 100K, and thus all the way down to 1K. So it tells you there's a direct relationship between the number of people you sponsor and the amount of income that you will potentially earn in XANGO. I will also share with you that years ago I was in the audience and there was a great income earner at the podium, and he held out his wallet and he said to people, how many of you could, if I were to write you a check or pull out of my wallet $100,000 right now, how many of you, if you bring back 100 distributor applications next year at this time, how many of you could do it? $100,000 for 100 distributor applications by this time next year, how many of you could do it? Now, of course, every hand in the room went up, including mine. I thought, yes, absolutely, I could do that. Now, here's a fact. The average 500K distributor in XANGO has sponsored 57 people, which is more than the average, as I mentioned, 200K and 100K in Premier. 57 people. So we can take out our wallets. Collie and Sandy and myself can take out our wallets and we can say the average 500K Premier in XANGO averages over $105,000 a month, and yet we have sponsored on average less than 100 people into the company. So I want you to understand that the XANGO compensation plan does indeed work. The 1K earns enough income to basically pay for their order. That's exciting because people begin to understand that the compensation plan is working. They're getting a check. They can have it automatically deposited into their account, or they can actually physically receive a check. But they begin to see it actually work. As they get excited about that, that's why it's so important to get your new distributors, and for those of you who are new distributors, to set those goals with your sponsor to become a 1K distributor. That's the first pen level, the first rank level that we recognize in the company. But it's important that you achieve that within a certain period of time. Here's a fact. People who achieve 1K within their first 90 days are percentage-wise much more likely to go to Premier than those who don't. Now, there are the exceptions. There's people, top income earners like Sherman Unkefer, who have were in XANGO 3 or 4 months before they actually saw the vision and started actually working the compensation plan. But overall, if you can achieve 1K within your first 90 days at XANGO, you have a much higher percentage of likelihood of reaching Premier in the company. Now, the average 5K earns enough income to basically not only pay for their product, but they're earning approximately $700 to $750 a month, which allows them that little extra income to make the car payment, to help with the house payment, to pay for a child's education, to do the little extra things to take the heat off. You know, it's been said that just an extra $500 a month could stop most bankruptcies in the United States. So the 5K position can do that. The 20K is where it gets fun and exciting because the average 20K in XANGO is earning about $3,200 a month. Now, we used to recognize at our Las Vegas events the 20Ks on stage. They don't do that anymore. They simply have the 20K stand up because there were so many 20Ks going across stage in Las Vegas that it was putting the whole meeting behind an hour to 2 hours because there were so many coming across stage. We have thousands upon thousands of 20K distributors at XANGO. And for those of you who are new, who are listening to the call, this will sound a little bit foreign, like learning a foreign language, but as you start to work it, you'll begin to understand what a 20K is. And
you are now muted.
The income that can be earned at a 20K, and you get pretty excited about that because it's working with your team. When your team works, your dream works, as we say at XANGO. And so when you reach the level of 20K, you've helped at least 3 people become 5Ks and earn enough income where they're now starting to feel the benefit of the compensation plan. And as you reach that 20K and as you develop that business, a couple of exciting things happen. One is that you really begin to see how it can take you to the next step of Premier. I remember very distinctly a gentleman in California who came up to me after a meeting and he said, Dwayne, I really need to quit my job. And I said, how much money are you earning? And he said, about $4,000 a year. Now in California, $4,000 a year as a major breadwinner in your family is not a lot of income. And I said to him, that's about a good strong 20K. I said, are you willing to work? And he said, I am. I'm willing to do anything. And so I said, here's my card. Follow up with me and follow up with your sponsor. And sure enough, after 6 months, he called and he had made 5K and he was pretty excited. And then another 6 months to almost a year went by and he became a 20K and he got pretty excited about that because he's still working his job, but he now was approaching his full-time income that he had at his job. And sure enough, about a year later, I got a telephone call, and he said, I made Premier, and I was so excited for him. And he said, guess what I did? I said, what'd you do? He said, I quit my job. And I said, how did that go? He said, it went great. He said, I went in and fired my boss. He said, I really didn't like him. I kind of hated him, in fact. And he said, my boss says, what are you going to do? He says, well, I'm going to work my XANGO compensation plan full time. And he said, what's XANGO? And the rest of the story is that he sponsored his boss that he had fired by quitting his job, and his boss became a person on his front line. Well, at Premier, his income now had exceeded $9,000 a month. The average Premier earns about $9,300 a month, or about $100,000 a year. So it took him about 2 years to do it, but in 2 years, he was completely able to change his life, to change his lifestyle, and to do something he really enjoyed doing. And it was another testament to me that the compensation plan really does work. If you're willing to work it, if you're willing to work with your sponsor, if you're willing to do the things your sponsor says to do, and if your sponsor is not one that's working with you well, then continue to work. Find that upline premier in your organization because they know how to do it. They've reached that level. And work with them. Pick their brain. Find out what they're doing, and then do it. Follow it. I love what Sandy and Kali have done here with the 500K plan. I applaud them openly on this call because they're great leaders. If it wasn't for Kali, we wouldn't have Sandy. If it wasn't for Sandy, we wouldn't have Carol. If it wasn't for Carol, we wouldn't have Dr. Armando. If we didn't have Dr. Armando, we wouldn't have Sherman. If it wasn't for Sherman, we wouldn't have the rest of the organization on that leg. And so that's how it works. People ask me all the time, how do I become a success in this? I say to them, learn the compensation plan, learn how to sponsor, get with your upline, especially your upline premier, pick their brain, and then do what they say to do and follow it and work at it. If people say, well, I just don't want to do it, or the phone is an 80-pound weight, or I don't know how to approach someone, I don't know how to talk to somebody, I say to them, don't talk to somebody, then listen. Simply introduce them to your upline, either by a telephone call or by a webinar like this, or bring them to a meeting, and then listen to what your upline premier has to say to them, because they have achieved that level of success where they know what to say. And my guess is they'll probably listen as well. They'll probably ask some questions. They'll probably find out what the interest is of the individual, and they'll always go to both the product and the income opportunity. People always ask me, do you lead with product or do you lead with the business opportunity? And I say yes. I will tell you one thing. Everyone has need of more income. So whether you lead with product or business, the answer is yes. You always talk about both. The exciting thing about XANGO is that we have the vehicle. We have the products that support the compensation plan. You will never be embarrassed about the XANGO products. If there's ever an issue with the products, the company immediately addresses it. In the early days, Sandy and Kali will remember this with smiles because they were there from the very beginning. But if we had a case of product that was shipped to Canada and a bottle froze sitting on a porch and it broke a couple of bottles, the company would immediately send up a new case and replace that. Very, very rarely has a company ever been caught in a backorder situation. It's kind of exciting when it does happen because it's so rare. Right now we are in a backorder situation with one of our newest, hottest products called Limitless. And the reason is because Limitless has just blown the socks off the forecast. The company had no idea that it was going to sell as fast and as quickly as it has. Everyone is excited about it. Everybody that has used it has liked it. It's kind of a bitter lemon taste, but it gives you that energy without the sugar rush and without the calories, and people love that. Well, we're in a back order situation. We're back ordered for another week or 10 days on it. I kind of like it because it's the first time in a long time we've been in a back order situation on a product. Now, will XANGO fix it? Absolutely. Will they honor all those orders? Absolutely. They will work on their behalf for the distributor. So, you know, if I get one message through on this webinar tonight, I just want to make sure that people understand the XANGO compensation plan does work, but nothing works unless you do. If you set your goals to become a 1K, and you set a goal to become a 1K within the first 90 days, and you work towards that goal, and then you identify 3 or 4 or 5 people in your organization that you want to help become 1Ks. People say, you know, what do you do to work your business? I tell them I get up in the morning, I get in the shower, I think about the people I've personally sponsored, and I ask myself, what can I do today to help them achieve success? I said that one time in Japan. Talk about lost in translation. This little Japanese fine fellow raised his hand and he said, let me make sure I understand that I have to get in the shower and I have to shower with 4 or 5 people. And I said, nah, you don't quite have it right. I said, there's lost in translation a little bit. And of course, I had to chuckle at that because the reality is that if you help develop 3 or 4 or 5 people into 1Ks, then you become a 5K. The volume is automatic. The volume will always happen. It is simply reaching out and helping your team. Now, let me share one other thought with you in the couple of minutes that we have left. You don't take a title to the bank. You don't take a title to the bank. You take a commission check to the bank. If you want that banker to call you by name and recognize you when you walk in because you have $100 or $200 or $500,000 deposit into that bank, you take your money to the bank. And so I emphasize this because so many times we get caught up on rank and not structure correctly. In the XANGO compensation plan, it has some very good benefits of how to structure the plan the way that it works best for you. But I will tell you, you want to get with your premier leaders and you want to structure your organization so that you are paid and compensated for the work that you do. So you want to put 4 or 5 people on your front line and you want to work with them and you want to help them become 1Ks themselves. It cannot be stopped. If you help 4 or 5 become 1Ks, you will be a 5K. You help 4 or 5 people become 5Ks, you will become a 20K. It cannot be stopped. It's the way it works. It's the law of the harvest. You water it, you fertilize it, you plant it, you nurture it, and it will grow. The same is true of your organization. You help 5 people become 20Ks, you're a strong premier. You're actually a 100K premier at that point. And your income at 100K premier, the income averages about $17,500 per month. That 200K, which all of us achieved, that was the highest level in XANGO for quite a while, was 200K, because no one had achieved anything near it. But after 2 years, the company started producing 200Ks, such as Sandy and Collie and myself and others. And when that position was hit, the average incomes were about $50,000 a month. The average income is right at about $50,000 per month for a 200K. Well, the company did an interesting thing. They created a new position called 500K so that it would give achievers an opportunity to set a new site and set a new goal and work towards that goal. And it's been wonderful to watch now 13 leaders in the company achieve the level of 500K, which, as I mentioned, averages over $105,000 per month. Can you make money at XANGO? Yes, you can. Does the compensation plan work? Yes, it does. I'm proud to say on this webinar, XANGO has never once missed a commission check. They've never once been late on a commission check payment. It's due on the 20th of every month for the unilevel check. And again, this is, I know for new people on the call, this is a little bit like learning Spanish or a foreign language if you don't know Spanish. And what as you work it, it becomes just second nature. It's like the first week at school. After you've been there a month, you know everywhere, but that first week you're kind of lost. It's the same here. Don't get over flustered. Take it slow, learn the plan, and then learn what you need to do in that plan. But as you develop that, as you work it and actually see it happen, and as you watch that income come, you will realize that it's you can just take it to the bank. As I mentioned, there's the unilevel payout comes on the 20th of every month. I don't know if mine's ever come on the 20th. It's always come on the 17th, 18th, or 19th. They always get that check out on time. The weekly Power Start check is paid every week on new people that you bring in on their first initial order, and on what we call the Customer Connect program, which is a very strong program. We don't have time to go into that tonight, but there's a resource that you can do, and I know that Collie and Sandy will talk about upcoming webinars where they'll go into training on this, and I would love to come back, Sandy and Collie, and do more with the training, but I will just share with the listeners and the viewers on the webinar tonight that it works. The XANGO compensation plan works if you do. If you will work it, you'll make money, and you'll be a blessing to your family, and you can be what Gordon Morgan calls a pattern breaker in your family. Gordon was a pattern breaker. His father was a pattern breaker. Aaron Garrity is a pattern breaker. Dwayne Dyer is a pattern breaker. These are individuals who have earned more income than they ever dreamed that they would earn based on the heritage that they had. Our families, our fathers, our grandfathers, good livings, but never realized the type of income that can be earned by working a compensation plan like XANGO. So go out there and become pattern breakers. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Collie, for having me on the webinar tonight.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. I appreciate that. For the viewers on the webinar, I just have an image of XANGO's compensation plan training document. That's what Dwayne was referring to, and everything he talked about can be found at XANGO.com. Just look under the compensation, find the compensation plan training document. There's an image of it there. It'll go all the way into it. We really appreciate Dwayne's support and his leadership. He's been there since the beginning, along with Sandy and myself, and so many other leaders within XANGO. It's really interesting to go back. It's 9.5 years now. We'll be approaching our 10th anniversary and towards the end of this year in November. And what's exciting is to look at the people who got involved in XANGO back then, who are still involved. The overwhelming majority of them are members of the $1 Million Club or on their way, because what it takes to become a XANGO millionaire is it takes, number one, the decision that that's something that you want to do. Number two, the commitment that I will keep on keeping on, talking to people, product, opportunity, whatever. As we gain experience, as we talk, we learn what to say, and until we do, we use our what we call our upline support. The person who invited you to this webinar, to this call this evening, is there for you, and they have people that are there for them, and I've got people that are there for me, including Dwayne, and that's what we do, is we work together as a team. So we'll help you learn about products, we'll help you understand the compensation plan, and we'll teach you everything that you have to do along the way. But all you have to do is keep on keeping on, talk to people, share the message about a great product or about the opportunity to change your life financially, and show up. Show up at events, invite people to show up at events, and whether it's 6 months or 6 years or 10 years from now, you'll find yourself, as long as you keep on keeping on, that's really the secret. You'll find yourself well on the way, if not already, a member of XANGO's Millionaire Club. So wonderful to have you this evening on the webinar. Make sure that you get back to the person who invited you. Number one, tell them thank you. Number two, if you didn't understand the compensation plan, ask whether you can get the compensation plan training document, which will help you understand every aspect of our customer program, of our great distributor bonuses, our great leadership bonuses. There's just so many wonderful weekly, monthly, and quarterly bonuses that XANGO has to offer, and we've got the highest payout in the industry of any compensation plan that's out there that I've ever personally seen or reviewed, and that's something that you can learn more about as well. This is what I can promise you. If you share one product with one person, you'll make money with XANGO. If you sell or share a lot of products with a lot of people, you'll make even more. If you share product and opportunity with customers and distributors, and you keep on doing that month after month, year after year, you can make unlimited income with XANGO. So thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to hearing you or seeing you on a future webinar. Good night, everyone.